possible. And I know in Kenny's prayer this morning, he talked about our country, and I also want to add our thanks to God for people like you and your son. So I have a son that's also serving in the Army right now. So we do have some Army representation, even though we have a Marine here that's bringing up the tail end as usual. And Kenny and I for the Navy, but the Army is near and dear to our hearts. So as a way of introduction, if you'd like to say anything, please do. And then I'd like to read your citation for your award. But if you had a few comments, appreciate anything you'd have to say to the group. There's a group here, but there's also a pretty large group on Facebook and some of the other social media sites. So, Colonel Marm, over to you if you have anything.
It's just an honor for me to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to your questions. And so it's I'm glad my son's here too. He lives in Mount Vernon, or in Alexandria, Virginia. And I'm up with my daughter in Pennsylvania, Westchester, and northwest of Philly. And so it's great to be with family. And great, my daughter, her husband, and that's the name on the screen there, Justin Finneran. He has really a neat setup here. So it's just an honor for me to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for attending. And over to your son real quick. Is it Joe? I'm sorry. Is it Joe? Can you hear us?
Yeah, hi, Joe Marm, also. I'm the third.
Okay. Joe, would you like to say a few words now? I mean, appreciate having you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, thanks for putting us. Ray's not here, but Ray Celeste, who works for the congressman that backfilled Walter Jones when he passed. And Ray put us in touch with you all, and I'm glad, thanks for joining. I'm here in Mount Vernon, Virginia, about 3 or 4 miles from where I was born in Fort Belvoir at the Wood Army Hospital. It was built in 1955, I believe, and I was born in 69. And so the Alexandria district of Fairfax County, and I worked for the federal government, mostly in DOD early on, active Army, DOD, then USDA, Food Safety and Inspection Service, slaughter. We regulated all the slaughterhouses and meat inspection. And now I work for a financial regulator, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency within the Department of Treasury. So we make sure the banks are following the rules. Anyway, I have recently retired out of the reserves. Was it last year or the year before? Last year. Nixon would remind me, last year I retired out of the reserves, where I worked for 14 years at National Defense University, and we ran a strategic national strategy course. It's called Reserve Component National Strategy Course. That's at RCSNSE. So I did that for 14 years. We trained, and it was like a mini war college for 2 weeks with the Guard, Reserves, the Coast Guard, the 8 different services. That's all I had. If you have any questions, really here for my father, not for me.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and read the citation, and then I think there'll be a few folks that may have some questions, and if not, some closing remarks. So, if you would, this is the actual citation for the Medal of Honor for Colonel Marm. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, as a platoon leader in the 1st Cavalry Division, Air Mobile, First Lieutenant Marm demonstrated indomitable courage during a combat operation. His company was moving through the valley to relieve a friendly unit surrounded by an enemy force of estimated regimental size. First Lieutenant Marm led his platoon through withering fire until they were finally forced to take cover. Realizing that his platoon could not hold very long and seeing 4 enemy soldiers moving into his position, he moved quickly under heavy fire and annihilated all 4. Then, seeing that his platoon was receiving intense fire from a concealed machine gun, he deliberately exposed himself to draw its fire. Thus, locating its position, he attempted to destroy it with an anti-tank weapon. Although he inflicted casualties, the weapon did not silence the enemy fire. Quickly, Disregarding the intense fire directed on him and his platoon, he charged 30 meters across open ground and hurled grenades into the enemy position, killing some of the 8 insurgents manning it. Although severely wounded when his grenades were expended, armed with only a rifle, he continued momentum of his assault on the position and killed the remainder of the enemy. First Lieutenant Marm's selfless actions reduced the fire on his platoon, broke the enemy assault, and rallied his unit to continue toward the accomplishment of his mission. First Lieutenant Marm's gallantry on the battlefield and his extraordinary intrepidity at the risk of his life are in the highest traditions of the U.S. Army and reflect great credit upon himself and the armed forces of his country. Colonel Marm.
Thank you very much. That was the first major battle of the Vietnam War, and our unit was the 7th Cavalry, which lineage goes back to General George Armstrong Custer. And there for a while we thought we were in another little bighorn surrounded and outnumbered. But we had a lot of assets Custer didn't have. You know, the whole, we had 400 helicopters supporting us from our division, the 1st Cavalry Division. And we had lots of support from all the services providing, close air support with the fast movers. We even had a B-52 truck on the second day, so that was unique too. And there's a book about the battle called We Were Soldiers Once and Young. It was written by the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore, and the only embedded reporter, Joe Galloway. The book came out in 1992. And the movie about the battle came out 10 years later in 2002. It's called We Were Soldiers. They had to fit it down to fit on the marquee, so they couldn't put the complete name on in the movie. It starred Mel Gibson and Sam Elliott, and pretty good movie. One of the better Vietnam movies. They're making a Hollywood movie, not a documentary, so we say it's about 70% accurate. But it's one of the better Vietnam movies. And I received the medal during President Johnson's administration, and he wanted to keep Vietnam a low profile. So he had the Secretary of the Army present me my medal in a cold December day, the 19th of December, 1966. That's 13 months after the battle outside the Pentagon. And I had to borrow an overcoat from the old guard because I didn't have an overcoat back then. I later got one. And the only Marine not to receive the medal a few months later, he got his from the Secretary of the Navy, Barney Barnum. And Barney said, we're the only 2 living recipients from Vietnam that didn't get the medal from the president. So that's quite unique. He got, like I said, he got his from the Secretary of the Navy a few months later. And it's quite an honor to be wearing the medal. We say we wear the medal for all the brave men and women that we serve with. And so we're the caretaker of the medal for all the brave servicemen and women that we represent.
Tremendous.
The other thing is, my wife worked for Walter Jones. She's not political, but she was a very good caseworker in Walter Jones' district office in Greenville. And he died a few years before he could retire a few years ago. And I met my wife, Deborah, when she was working for Jesse Helms, another famous politician up in Washington, D.C. And I stole her away from Jesse, after she worked for him for about 7 years in Washington.
Sir, are you available for some questions? Is anybody from the audience here? Go ahead. This is Commander Dan Chang, ex-Navy. You can, yeah.
Well, Colonel, I'm not ex-Navy. I retired from the Navy. Naval Academy. Yeah, I truly salute you, sir, because my dad served in Vietnam. He was in the riverine boats, and some of the stories are kind of horrendous, like yours. But I grew up, and I realized when you all came back from the war, there was no respect for what you have done for us, for our country, fighting communism. So I salute you. And one question I do have, I know you said you had 400 helicopters, all the air cav coming in, but it's amazing. You had your platoon against a regiment. I would assume regular North Vietnamese Army. Did at the time of your when you won your award medal, were they getting reinforcements in for you, or was it just at the initial burst of the battle you had to do that, and then they finally realized what you were up against?
We were trying to get to a platoon that was trapped on the side of a mountain called Chupong, and we wanted to get to them before it got dark. We didn't have any night vision devices back then, so we made 2 attempts. My platoon was attached to the company that lost that one platoon that was trapped, and we made the first attempt. We were taking too many casualties, so we had to pull back. And our battalion commander prepped the front with artillery and mortar fire on the second attempt. And we made the second attempt with 2 companies, B company, and my company was A company. And it was about a couple hundred men, making that assault. But, we were taking a lot of casualties. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't you get your men to... I tried to get one of my soldiers to shoot the bazooka. It's called a lead anti-tank weapon. It's a one-shot disposable tank-killing weapon. I tried to get one of my men to shoot it, and he tried, but it didn't go off for him. So there's a lot of humidity and moisture in Vietnam, so I took it from him, and I rearmed it by closing it up, and it went off for me, and I thought we destroyed the position. But so we started moving forward again. We were taking more casualties, so... with all the battle noise, I tried to get one of my men to run up there and throw a grenade into the position. But he thought I meant throw it from where we're at, and he did. And there was trees and shrubs around the position, so it landed in front and didn't do any damage. Rather than waste any more time, I told my men to, hold the fire, don't shoot me up, and I ran across about 30 meters to the position and then threw a grenade over the top. It was a solidified rock anthill, very, very big, and with trees and shrubs all around it. And I got to the position, threw a grenade over the top, went around to the left side, and there were some more guys trying to shoot me, so I was able to finish them off. And then I told my men, come on, let's go, we got to get to that platoon. I waved them. This was, when you think of Vietnam, you think of heavy jungle. It was elephant grass and trees and shrubs. It wasn't a heavy jungle like is so often in Vietnam. And so anyway, I went, and someone further in the back, another bad guy, I was standing up telling my men to come on, when I got shot in the jaw. Kind of ruined my day. Went in my left side, deflected downward, and out underneath my right jaw. And a lot of pain, and I was able to be evacuated. One of my, I didn't have an aid man. They usually attach an aid man to each platoon. But one of my sergeants, his name was Staff Sergeant Tolber, was a medic in Korea, and he had the aid bag. Plus, he had to take care of his 10 men in his squad. So he was a very busy guy, taking care of the wounded and taking care of his squad. But he come up and patched me up. And a couple of guys took me back to the company or the battalion command post where I was later evacuated, and recovered right up here in Valley Forge Army Hospital. They opened it up after the Korean War for the Vietnam guys, and they try to put you as close to home, as you could get. So I was kind of a walking wounded. My mouth was wired shut while the bone healed for about 3 months, and so I was on a baby food diet. I couldn't bite into anything. So that was a great experience when my bone healed. I was able to eat my first full meal. But, we went down to the Army-Navy game,
Yeah, I got one more. Or just a comment.
that November, or December in '65. And I remember the score, it was a tie, 7-7. Navy did a great job, but Army was able to hang in there and tie the game in '65.
Hey,
Anyway.
one other thing,
Yeah.
one other thing, Colonel. It is a small world. I was stationed in Pentagon in '90, and you know that they have a hall of corridor with all the Medal of Honor winners. And when I was first stationed there, I was just curious about Vietnam, and I do believe I read or I saw your citation. So it is quite an honor to see you through video. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions for you, and then if anybody else does, they can kind of let me know. But I guess my question is, you know, Dan already brought up the fact that when you guys came back, and I have a brother that was in Vietnam as well, there was a long time before there was any official recognition and I think appreciation by the country. You know, how did you deal with that all this time? And did you ever feel like you know, there's some amends were made? And if you could speak to that just a bit, and I have a second question as well.
You know, we live in the greatest country in the world. We're very blessed and honored. You know, many of the guys avoid there was a draft then, and I enlisted out of college. I was shooting on the rifle team at my college, Duquesne in Pittsburgh, and my sergeant said, "Marm, you know, you're going to get drafted. Why don't you enlist and go to OCS?" So that's what I did. So 5 days after I graduated, I was heading on my first train ride down to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and got my gear, and then took a bus down to Fort Gordon for basic and advanced training, 8 weeks and 6 months of OCS. I got off that bus and I asked the drill sergeant, you know, where's the bathroom? And he just ripped me up. He said, "Soldier, we don't have bathrooms in the Army, we have latrines." But I learned real quick to watch what I said to the drill sergeants. But that was a great experience for me, learning to be a soldier that way. And OCS had a high mortality rate of college ops because it was more geared for the soldiers that had been in the Army for a while. So they gave us some additional training at night and on weekends in basic and advanced training, so all the college graduates that were with me could make it through. And we had a pretty high success rate. Every time we sat down, we said 400 classes since 61, or 600 classes since 41 tried, but none will compare with 465. I was in Ranger School and they needed lieutenants for the first cav that was forming up right there at Benning, and so they called out about 50 names and changed their orders. I was supposed to go to Fort Jackson and work with basic trainees, but I wound up joining the first cav division that was gearing up to go to Vietnam. They had been testing the aerosol concept with helicopters in war games against the 82nd and 101st, and were able to outmaneuver them. So we deployed to Vietnam with 15,000 troops and 400 helicopters. We went over on a merchant marine ship. All the troops in the aircraft carrier took the helicopters over. And we gave a mule, which is the Army mascot, to one of our leaders when we were in the test phase. And he named the mule after his wife, Maggie. And he took Maggie on an aircraft and made it to Vietnam, but the general said, "I don't want Maggie on my Chinook." So he swung loaded Maggie underneath this command helicopter in his Huey and took her up to our base camp. And Maggie got loose one night, and our troops thought she was a bad guy coming after them and shot her up. So, Maggie didn't make it the whole year. He's also famous for the Stetson. He started wearing the Stetson and his troops did too. And the general told him, "Put the baseball cap on. I don't want you in that Stetson." So we went back and talked to his men, and went back and talked to the general and said, "Sir, can we wear the Stetson for ceremonial occasions?" The general thought, "Well, okay, you wear the Stetson for ceremonial occasions. Everything was a ceremonial occasion, everything, so they never took it off.
Great.
It's pretty famous now too, the Stetson. Much more powerful. A lot of the cavalry guys, and particularly the first cav wear the Stetson. It's not an issue item; they have to buy that.
Sir, the second question I had for you was: is there anything? Obviously, your Army training sounded like it went actually pretty well. But prior to the Army, both college and home life, that sort of thing, what are the sorts of things that you learn that help you prepare? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, having served for 20 years, you just don't know how you're going to react, when the situation really gets to where it was for you and several of the other folks. Can you point to anything or any, series of things in your life that prepared you mentally and spiritually for the battles that you faced prior to your Army training, aside from the actual physical training?
Yeah, we wore a patch and it said homage, very nice hat. That's a Stetson right there. But my father was a state policeman in Pennsylvania, and so we wouldn't ask our men to do anything we wouldn't do. I grew up in a small town in western Pennsylvania called Washington, the home of the Whiskey Rebellion. And it's also the home of Pony League Baseball, which is for 13 and 14-year-old boys. And as a little kid, I used to go to watch the World Series. They would have them right there in Washington. And most people don't know what PONY stands for, P-O-N-Y. Protect Our Nation's Youth, P-O-N-Y. So that's very special. And, religious, that's very important too. They say there's no atheist in Foxville. I truly believe that. I wouldn't ask my men to do anything I wouldn't do myself. We're the last to eat. All the leaders, our men do, they eat first, and it was like that. I was a Boy Scout growing up too. I didn't make Eagle, but my son over there is an Eagle Scout, and I made life and was very active in the Order of the Arrow, and that was a great experience for me in preparation for Vietnam or the Army. Being going out on patrols with the Boy Scouts, learning to cook on an open fire and all the stuff that Boy Scouts do. And we even took a bus ride, a group of us from my hometown, down to the Boy Scout Ranch in Philmont. So that was a very special trip to be with all those young men back then. That's about it. You had a good, a very special family, the religious background, and all the training that I received, as a young soldier, both enlisted and officer, prepared me to be a leader. I also went back for a second tour in '69 and made it through the whole year as a captain in the first cav, so that's unique. They don't like recipients, going back into combat, but Barney Barnum did the same thing, and he went back. And there are a few of the early recipients that went back. Like, I was very early. Roger Donlin, the Marine, was our first recipient, Special Forces guy, and I was like the 7th recipient from Vietnam of the 263 that we have, whatever the number is now. Like I said, we're down to 47 living recipients of the 103 living recipients from Vietnam. Two famous quotes, when President Truman awarded the medal, oftentimes he said, "I'd rather have that medal than be president." And the other famous quote was from Patton, when he was awarding the medal in World War II. He said, "I'd give my mortal soul for that medal." He was very highly decorated too. But back in '66, there were about 250 living recipients. Some prior to World War I. And I was very honored to meet all the very famous men that received the medal in those early days. It's just an honor for me to be, in their presence. And like I said, we're down to 64 living recipients now.
Colonel, before Roger closes things out this morning, we are very fortunate here in Virginia that we have a new commissioner of the military for the veterans in Virginia, appointed by Governor Youngkin. That's Dan Gade. Dan is one of your comrades, graduated from West Point, and his first tour in the Middle East, he was a tank commander, and he got shot and came back for the second tour, and he was a company commander, and he was heading, I think it was either a Humvee or a armored vehicle, to meet with some tribal chiefs over there to try to get a little peace going on in an area. Well, an IED blew up the vehicle, and on his way back to the field hospital, he bled out, and he lost his entire right leg all the way up to his hip, had some other concussions and other things. I think that year he had 40 operations. So they got him to the field hospital, and they ran out of blood. So there was a bunch of Marines in the chow hall. They told him, we need blood. So they jumped up from their chow and ran over there, and they were pumping warm blood into his body to keep him alive. And so we're very fortunate to have Dan now overseeing the veterans' problems here in the state of Virginia, which your son is in, but you're not. So it certainly does afford you the opportunity to move back to Virginia if you'd like. And before I say to Roger, turn it over to Roger, go Steelers. I'm from Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
I'm a Steeler and an Eagle fan.
Oh, man,
So we've got Stephanie Lansik. You'd like to make a comment.
I just wanted to say what a gift it has been to get to know you as a person on the inside and hear your thoughts on all of this. And I just want to say I'm really glad that there was a medic nearby when you got, shot in the face. Because that is a lot scarier than the story really reveals. So I'm glad that you're healed.
Thank you. There's a good movie that just came out called Deliverance about another one recipient from the Korean War. Thought he was going to get court-martialed, but he crash-landed in Korea to try to save his wingman, who was the first black fighter pilot, Jesse Brown. A very, very good movie. Tom Hutner was his name, and he was in charge of the veterans up in Massachusetts before he died. And they had a ship named after him, named the Hutner. So he's quite, and he passed away a few years ago. But it's a very good movie, and worth the time to see. I saw it a couple days ago. It's very, very well done.
Well, fantastic. Colonel, I can't thank you enough. I know I speak on behalf of everybody here that's listening online and also attending this morning's meeting. We appreciate you taking the time to share it with us. You do great honor to the service, to the country, and we couldn't be more appreciative of your time. Thank you so much for attending and speaking with us this morning.
I'm in my wife's hometown of Fremont, North Carolina. Way back in '61, a B-52 was trying to limp back into an Air Force base called Seymour Johnson. The right wing come off. This is in 1961. They were flying 24/7, the B-52s. It had two 10,000-pound hydrogen bombs on board. It had an extra pilot, but had a crew of 8. 5 made it out, and three didn't make it. And they deactivated. One went screaming into the ground. The parachute didn't deploy, and the other, the 10,000-pound hydrogen bomb, the parachute deployed and had a picture of it hanging up on a tree. There's a good book out called "The Gold for a Broken Arrow" that tells all about that. And we have a hog farm out there, and our hogs kind of glow at night now. They deactivated it, and it's okay out there now. But it had that extra pilot was one of the early black pilots, and he made it out, but his parachute didn't deploy, so he had to pull his reserve. And he lived a good life too. And that's a very unique story. They deactivated both of the bombs. Thank you. I didn't mean to take up too much of your time, but that's a very good book called "The Gold for a Broken Arrow," all about that.
Yeah, no, please don't ever apologize. We appreciate every minute you spent with us this morning. And once again, thank you so much. And thanks to your son as well. and all the rest of the Medal of Honor. We try to recognize a Medal of Honor recipient each meeting, and on a rare occasion, we do get a family member, and in this case, to have the actual recipient has been quite an honor for all of us. So thank you once again. Anytime you're in Virginia, dinner's on us, and beer's on Robert. So
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
God bless you as well.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's very moving. I think just about everybody in this room has somebody that's either currently active duty or has been with the military in some form or fashion. And it's we don't realize sometimes the sacrifices. And I can tell you, they're getting paid much better today. When I left Paris Island and headed to Lejeune, I was making $91 a month. But I got an M1 rifle, I got a pack, and I got 3 squares a day, and a uniform. What else did I want? But today they want to be issued Cadillacs or everything else. So I mean, it's a changed world. We have some, before we get into just some brief business, we have some announcements for things that are coming up. Diana, you want to mention some of your stuff, please?
Hello, we're having a Christmas party at our next meeting for our members and our friends, right? So we have this handmade Afghan that we're raffling off for $10 a ticket, and this is to help defer the cost of putting on the Christmas party. So if you would like a raffle ticket, even if you don't attend, we'll have your name on it, and if you win, you will get it. So it's this Thursday at the Masonic Lodge at 7 p.m. So.
Should have gone with something more patriotic.
Oh, yes, we should have got a different one that was more patriotic, yes. But it's handmade and it's beautiful. And so if you'd like to buy a ticket, you can see me and Maureen. Thank you.
And Diana, where do they get the information on the party? Is it on your?
They would have gotten an email for an invite.
Okay.
We're also raffling off eligible bachelors.
Yes. And I will fetch a premium. Our last gathering, we had gone over the Virginia Beach legislative agenda that the city council had prepared and they voted on and sent now on to Richmond to be included in the upcoming legislation that they're going to be probably nearly 3,000, although this is a short session. This is a 30-day session. So they're going to probably limit the number of bills that coming in. But there were some things on there that were very disturbing. We shared them. Diana shared also from the Tea Party, spoke about the legislative agendas. And so the votes didn't go the way we would like to have seen them, but 2 of them did. And those were John Moss's initiatives on if someone resigns or dies in office or something on city council or school board, that at least for the city council, that there would be a special election instead of them appointing somebody. And I'll tell you, yeah, that was a very good thing. And so John Moss was lucky on that one. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Laura.
Do you know if school board will have to follow suit on that because school board's supposed to?
I don't know that. It would seem to me. Yeah, I will get an answer for that. Yeah, and it should be. They should mirror one another. The other thing Councilman Moss put in, and it passed, was to do away with the grocery tax down here. like the governor did. And I believe the two people that voted against that was Bob Dyer, the mayor, and Rosemary Wilson, the vice mayor. And I think the two of them also voted against the appointees. Is that correct, Diana?
I don't remember if you did.
Yeah, I know. But I think that they have voted against it, but they can always, once they hear this broadcast, they can come out and deny it. So I'm trying to think what else there was on there that was so significant. And so closing that out, we have a challenge here with the Tidewater Libertarian Party. The state, just to bring everybody up to date, the new state group is having their convention today just north of Richmond, and Dr. Don Tabor is representing us because Don's a former chair here. So he's going up there to find out exactly what's going on about our affiliation and all of that. So we'll have a lot more to know about this by tomorrow. But that said, we still need to be the good watchdog group as far as partisan politics go. And of course, we normally work in conjunction with Diana and the Virginia Beach Tea Party and on all of these issues that are nonpartisan for the Tea Party, but are partisan for the Libertarian Party. So we try to work in conjunction with them and in cooperation with a lot of these initiatives. So that said, we need to know from you this morning, real briefly, what can we do to become a more important factor in local politics so that we don't end up, as we have right now, an 11-member liberal city council. Fortunately, some of the elections for the school board went our way, so now they're down from 8 liberal members on the school board, I mean extreme left liberals, to only 6. So now that's a lot in our favor. So we're going to have to, in 2024, we're going to have to take the rest of the seats. The bad part of all of this is Laura Hughes will be coming off in January, and so we're going to be losing a very, very important voice. And John Moss, of course, yes, absolutely. But I'm talking about the school board. So I've imposed on our will on Laura to please stay engaged so she knows what's going on inside the system, and we'll still have those contacts there. So if there's things that the 5 on the school board need from us, we can try to support them in any way, fashion we can. And am I missing anything else? Suggestions from the crowd? Maureen.
Didn't early voting start yesterday for
Kevin.
Higgins?
Yes. Early voting did start for Jen Kagan's district, so that's, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, District 7, and that is Aaron Rouse, who's currently on City Council, and Kevin Adams, who's a retired lieutenant commander in the Navy. He's running as the Republican. There was no primary, so those are the 2 candidates. And I tried to get him here this Saturday, but his schedule prevented it. I think the election, let's see, when's the election? It's January 10th. Yeah, so we can try to get, and this is predicated on the decision I'm going to ask right now, because we'll probably have to wait to the first Saturday in January, but I'm going to suggest that perhaps our next meeting, which is the 3rd Saturday, is so close to Christmas that perhaps we just forego that meeting and not have a meeting. So what say you?
I make a motion that we forego the meeting.
Okay, there's a motion. Is it second? There's a second. Discussion. Stephanie?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Discussion now.
Oh, I just thought Christmas is when we're supposed to all get together, not stay apart. But that might just be me.
Anybody else?
We could go to a tea party Christmas. Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Yeah, if you received an email, you can go to it.
And it's also in our newsletter. I mean, it's not open to the public, but if you're a member or a friend of ours and you get our newsletter, you're invited.
Hear that?
And it's a potluck, so you have to bring something. We're paying for the place.
It's a potluck, so you have to bring something for.
Turkeys, 2 hams, and tea and water and coffee. So we have to pay for all of that.
And the date again is December
7.
7th. The day that,
Sorry, 8. It's this Thursday.
yeah, the day that will live in infamy was the 7th, yes. Okay, and it's down at the Masonic Lodge on Princess Anne Road. So if you have any questions, please see Diana after this meeting. Okay. Any other concerns or things, directions? Yes, sir, Mike.
So what is the Libertarian Christmas party?
This is it. That's on only if you're on the mailing. Was that the T? Let's clear up this misnomer. The Tea Party is not a political party, Mike. So that's what separates them out. But you can certainly join. Now, the Libertarian Party, we are a political party, and our dues annual are $12. But we do it prorated. Normally, we try to get everybody to renew in July, and Mr. Axel over there is our membership chair. But today is December, so that means if you join today, it's only $7 through June of next year, when we start the new year on July 4th. So if anybody has an extra $7 and like to join and support us, we'd appreciate it. Is there anything else? Any other announcements from the floor? Tom Veely?
Yes, 912 is not having a meeting in December, and our next meeting will be next year, January 23rd at Great Neck, why not, Italian.
The 912 group, which is the educational arm of the Tea Party and the rest of us, started, 10, 12, maybe 15 years ago. There won't be a meeting in December, but there will be on the last Thursday. Monday, that's right, Monday, the 23rd of January, 6:30 at Brothers Pizza. Why not pizza? Where? Why not Italian? Up at, Great Neck. So.
It's not the last Monday, it's the
Fourth Monday. Yeah, whatever, yeah. That's right, because some. Yes, okay. Then that works out. So, yes, sir, Mike. Yeah.
And there is one more thing that y'all need to know. Next week is my birthday, and I am 53 years old and still look like Marm.
That is frightening. That is frightening.
Next week is my birthday.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, they'll do that. Yeah. Talk to Diane. Maybe she'll get your birthday cake. No, they're not going to do that.
If you come to our tailgate and we know it's your birthday, we will buy you cake.
Yes. Our next tailgate is a new place. It's called Shore Break Pungo. And it will be next Friday, 6:30. It's in Pungo. Brand new. 5:30. Well, I'm not. Too much going on in the mind. Not enough. Yeah, too much going on, not enough mind. So it's at Shore Break, 5:30, next Friday, which would be the 8th? No, 9th.
The day after the Christmas party.
Yeah, the day after the Christmas party. It is a beautiful place. I've never seen so many large screen TVs, and it's upstairs and downstairs. The upstairs is a floating room. I mean, it's an incredible place. So I think everybody's going to really love it. Anything else good for the cause? Is there any other birthdays today? Any children have any birthdays? What about? Oh, yeah, and also Marina Brown. Is your daughter's birthday today? It was Monday, But you're celebrating it today? Okay. So, Mike, you can go over to Ramona's house and celebrate birthday with him. So, if anybody would like to sing happy birthday and you want to lead us off, Stephanie. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Marina and Mike. Happy birthday to you. Let's hear it for him. To you. Yeah. If there's no other additional business, yeah, well, I brought it up and, okay, yeah, come on.
I have the school board's one if you want me to read it. The school board's legislative agenda is remove inflation cap for next re-benchmarking process. Okay, it says here, in each odd year, the Virginia Department of Education provides the governance and the General Assembly with an estimate of the re-benchmark cost of continuing the existing direct aid to public education programs for the next biennium. Re-benchmarking is a process to update the state funding formula to reflect the current costs facing local education agencies, increases in fuel costs, health costs, teachers' salaries. The re-benchmarking is part of the bicentennial budget development process and includes updates in the input data to determine the current cost of the programs. The cost projects do not reflect any changes in policy or technical methodology. The standard of quality provides 88% of the state funds for public schools. Does everybody understand that now? Okay. Next one, teacher salary increase and recruitment and retention. No explanation needed. Support cap. VBCPS supports removing the support position caps that was put in place in 2009 during the Great Recession. Previously, the Commonwealth provided funding for support staff positions to a formula that used members of staff and local costs calculated using the actual numbers of support positions and the salaries for each position in all Virginia's school division. As a money-saving measure during the recession cap, we placed on the number of positions that the state would fund. The cap was not based on any analysis of student needs or existing staffing patterns, but rather was simply calculated as a ratio of instructional to support positions based on the necessity to reduce state funding by a particular amount. Okay, next, increase behavior and mental health staff available in student to aid in early identifications and support of students exhibiting mental health needs. Next, delivering quality special education services. Dedicate state funding for capital improvements. School bus driver shortage. Eliminate a fund currently unfunded mandates. Eliminate a fund currently unfunded mandates. Does anybody need an explanation on that? Okay. Continued reform of assessment system. BBCPS also supports the reduction of the number of required tests to allow student divisions to continue to transform the traditional classroom and better meet the needs of our students. It's important our students can compete in a global marketplace rather than the 20 SOL tests currently mandated. They support legislation that allows school divisions to substitute SOL assessments for those that are performance-based, mimic real-life situations, and better prepare students for success in a higher education and in the workplace. Okay? Next, laboratory schools and innovative learning environments. Okay? So that's their legislative agenda. Okay? We put out our legislative priorities to, this is the Tea Party. We put out all legislative priorities, and I sent it to all our representatives, delegates, and senators, right? So one was indexing the tax rate to inflation, which hasn't been changed for like 32 years. So even though you're making more money, your dollar isn't going very far. So that needs to be done. Special elections for local government so that the people decide, not the local government. We support John Morse's thing on that. Eliminate the personal property taxes on cars. Started when Governor Gilmore, I think, was the one that started that. It was supposed to be done in phases. The first phase went through, right? And all the local governments complained, so the state had to supplement them the money that they would have gotten. And then when Warner became governor, he just ended the rest of it going through. So would love that to come back. Remove us from compliance with California laws and the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, right? Both which raise your taxes, right? And the California law that's going to not allow gas vehicles is supposed to go into effect in 2035. So we have to follow their laws. So your used cars are going to become very expensive if you want to get one, because there won't be any more gas cars, right? And, you know, the regional greenhouse gas, that's a backdoor tax because, you know, Dominion is charging you more money for the dues they have to pay to belong to that. Yes, sir.
If they want to have electric cars, they can't put the electric cars in now because they can't get enough electricity to do it.
Yeah, well, I don't think they care about that. How many of you can afford a Tesla? You know, but they're saying by, 2035, I guess they figure they can make enough. Anyway, of course, eliminate certificate of public need. Also makes healthcare more expensive because if your doctor's office wants to have an MRI machine, they have to submit a certificate of public need so that they're not competing with hospitals. So you have to go to the hospital to get your X-rays or your MRI or CT scan or whatever it is, because your doctor can't provide it. Election integrity, we want the guardrails put back on that, photo ID included. There was a lot of bills that passed that, made it easier to cheat. Okay. Next, school choice in education, not just charter schools. The right to speak at public meetings. Currently, there is nothing in Virginia code that gives you the right to speak at any public meeting. Okay, there are some meetings around the state, where you can't speak at all. So yeah, if it's a public meeting, we should be allowed to speak. So that needs to be in law so that, they can't say you can't speak. The General Assembly has passed unconstitutional laws requiring us to then raise the money to sue them, which we had to do before, and it cost a lot of money. So if we have to do that, they should have to pay if we win, right? They should have to pay us back. It cost us a lot of money to do that last time. And when they passed HR TAC, that was unconstitutional because in Virginia law, that has to go to every county and city to have a regional government. But when we brought that up to them, right, it was one, I think it was Linwood Lewis, and he said, I'd vote for it again. Sue me. So, exactly. Collective bargaining for public employees. I wish they would repeal that because, you know, but if they're not going to repeal it, then at least they should put some safeguards on it because, you know, unions should not have the ability to negotiate contracts increasing our taxes. They're not elected. And lastly, restore Second Amendment rights for all law-abiding citizens. You know, they gave all that, the ability to make all these localities have the ability to make all these, what do you call them, gun-free zones anywhere, like in a park or in a building or whatever. So we'd like that repealed as well and remove the red flag laws and have conditional carry.
Delegate Anderson, doesn't he have a bill about the marriage amendment?
He does. He wants to, it's putting in and he already did, a constitutional amendment to, what do you call it? Remove the one that we have in there now, because in the Virginia Constitution it said marriage is between a man and a woman, and he wants that repealed.
Anything from the floor? Anybody had anything to say? Or Donna Sai. Nice phone.
Thanks. I don't know if you've seen it. See, my tortoise is even decked out for Christmas.
Lean over. Hello, my name is Donna Sy, and thank God I didn't win in Portsmouth. But I want to educate y'all a little bit about what I've discovered in Portsmouth. You know, I love the research to see the foundation of our government and how it's run. It ain't run by we the people anymore, and y'all know that. What I've looked at is the boards and commissions of Portsmouth. And I wrote the clerk, and I said, hey, can you tell me what department these boards and commissions are attached to? Many of them do not have any representation by liaisons from the city on those boards or commissions. All right. Then I saw a lot of regional government, like you were talking about, the regional representation by the elected. There's no boards or commissions where they're attached to. I'm concerned, and I'm saying it because I believe we the people of the government, they are making all these decisions without any input from us. And I just wanted to say, the boards and commissions, what departments are they coming out of, and who's representing them? So I just want to share that. Hopefully y'all probably 10 steps ahead of me, but I'm just learning about it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.